Always keep this name in your mind. Comfort Lodge. Situated in Airfield at Deza Town. Here at Comfort Lodge, we offer comfortable, affordable, and quality accommodation. The place is located at a very quiet environment that gives you a comfortable and peaceful sleep. We also offer local food such as mademba, masambote ndela, chisoso, ndi ndo zina za lokolo zambiri. Talking of entertainment, that's not an issue, as we have a DSTV for your favorite channels. Tight security, electricity and water backups are all in place just for you, dear customers. During this time of COVID-19, we have all measures in place just for your safety. Oh yes, come and taste a different feel of life here at Comfort Lodge in the town. Comfort Lodge. Comfort Lodge, your number one place for affordable and quality accommodation.
Greetings and welcome to our 7:30 news bulletin here on Luntha television. My name is Bernard Mwanza. Our top stories.
National Episcopal Conference of Congo calls for a spiritual preparation ahead of Pope Francis' visit. Presidential Task Force on Cholera urges Malawians to observe all cholera preventive measures. Weather experts urge caution amid looming flash floods in the southern parts of the country and lakeshore areas. And in other news, Gambia Navy officer and 3 others detained for plotting a coup.
Those were the headlines, now the news in detail. The National Episcopal Conference of Congo has called for greater cohesion and mobilization of Congolese people to welcome Pope Francis, who will visit the country from 31st of January to 3rd February 2023. With preparations for the visit, the country's bishops are leaving no stone unturned in ensuring smooth historic papal visit. In a statement released yesterday, the Congolese bishops appealed to the Catholic faithful, men and women of goodwill, to mobilize and ensure a thunderous visit for the pastor of the Universal Church. We have a Vatican News Agency report read by Tandu Mzmara.
The statement also stated that the Pope's visit is a moment of grace that requires good spiritual preparation, hence the prelates asking that all parishes and religious communities recite the prayer prepared for this intention at the end of each Eucharistic celebration until the end of this visit. The National Episcopal Conference of Congo further recommended adoration of the Blessed Sacrament every first Thursday of the month and the recitation of the Rosary every Saturday. In addition, the bishops expressed gratitude to the country's authorities for their involvement in the preparations, where they also thanked all the faithful and people of goodwill for their financial and material contributions towards the upcoming apostolic voyage. To cap it all, the National Episcopal Conference of Congo wishes that as part of the preparations, every Congolese person performs at least an act of mercy and make concrete steps towards reconciliation with God and neighbor. Pope Francis will arrive in Kinshasa at the invitation of President Felix Tshisekedi.
That was Tandu Mzmara reading a Vatican News Agency report. The Presidential Task Force on Cholera has appealed to all Malawians to observe measures that will help to eradicate the cholera outbreak that is increasing in the country. The task force co-chairperson, Kombize Kandoruchiponda, who is also Minister of Health, said every citizen has a role to play to ensure that the communities are safe from the outbreak. She made the remarks during a press briefing earlier today in Lilongwe, where together with co-chairperson of the committee, Dr. Wolford Chalaminankoma, and Minister of Information and Digitalization Gospel Kazako made the call. We have more in this report by King Major Gamwendo.
The The minister said the fight against cholera shouldn't be taken lightly, as the outbreak has already claimed over 410 lives in the country. She said it's high time Malawians should change how they do some things, including refraining from eating already cooked foods from the streets. Meanwhile, the minister has applauded the World Health Organization (WHO) for its timely support in fight against cholera, as it has donated several medical supplies worth $176,000, which is over 176 billion Malawi kwacha.
As Minister of Health, or indeed as Malawi government, we are very, very grateful to World Health Organization. This is not the first time they come in to assist us. It's maybe the third time just to address the cholera issues. But also apart from the medical supplies, they are assisting us in terms of training of our health workers in terms of cholera management, case management, but also technical support as well.
Speaking after making the donation, World Health Organization country representative Nima Kimambo said the medical supplies donated includes water purification tablets to treat water for over 500,000 households, life-saving oral rehydration solution (ORS), and zinc tablets catering for estimated 50,000 mild to moderate cases of cholera.
The donation the WHO has given today is part of the need, but when you look at the calculations of what is in the cholera response plan, there is a need for almost supplies of around over 3 million.
The first cholera case was recorded in March this year in Machinga district, and President Lazarus Chakwera declared cholera a public health emergency on 8th December, and on December 14th, the Minister of Health reported 12,854 cumulative cases across all the 29 districts of the country. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I am King Major Kamwindo.
Kenya Airways has said it will suspend its operations in the country following continued failure of government to repatriate foreign currency, which will help in maintaining its commercial viability in Malawi. In a statement the airline has released, it has found it challenging to meet its operational costs, and throughout the year it has actively engaged authorities to find a solution for the repatriation of a significant amount of its blocked funds, but to no avail. Currently, Kenya Airlines has suspended its ticketing services in Malawi, but travelers can still book and buy tickets online. Anafe Piri reports.
The statement has indicated that under current difficult circumstances and to mitigate further losses, moving forward, apart from suspending its ticket sales in Malawi, it intends to suspend its operations completely in the country. The Kenyan airline, which has been operating in Malawi since 1977, has said during its talks with the Malawi government, hoped for a win-win resolution on the repatriation of blocked funds to enable it to resume normal ticketing operations. Speaking to the Reserve Bank of Malawi RBM spokesperson, Raftika said considering that private sectors deal with commercial banks, the central bank has involved these banks to repatriate the airline's funds, but was quick to state that this has followed persistent forex shortages on the market, which they also deemed was threatening operations in the airline business, creating uncertainty on the future of the industry.
Normally, RBM doesn't have account of private sector company. So normally these people, they have accounts with commercial banks. So we are negotiating with commercial banks so that they should allocate them foreign exchange and pay for them. So that is being handled by one of the commercial banks in which they bank with. So that is being taken care of at the moment.
The 2022 Malawi Government Annual Economic Report shows that the air transport sector continues to suffer from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, highlighting that aeronautical revenue performance of 2020 to 2021 financial year was 81% down from that of the pre-COVID-19 era. Further, the country's economy is currently reeling from foreign exchange shortages, a development the Malawi Confederation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry said is affecting the importation of critical raw materials for industries, including air transport. The Kenya airline is best known for its world-class services and passenger-centric policies. Reporting for Luntha News, this is Alinafe Piri.
Forum for the Development of Youth with Disabilities, FDYD, has described 2022 as a very successful year since they have managed to meet some of their resolutions. Speaking to Luntha Television, FDYD Executive Director Rex Kalima has hailed all their partners who helped them achieving most of their activities, saying they have been helped through their various projects and disability rights funds. He then acknowledged that people with disabilities are rarely included in adult education, so the organization thought it wise to provide adult education to persons with disabilities. Kalima explains.
I would say that we should have a number of environments that a person with disability can manage to participate in the various sectors, because we should see that we have capacities in people with disabilities. We have qualified people, educated people, but you find that the environment there is not conducive for people with disability. If you talk about the structure, even the work policies as well, because you can find that maybe in other companies or somebody is not given the favorable conditions or the number of environment that can make him or her to succeed into that organization. So my plea to the country that I think we should have the president to allow persons with disabilities to have a number of environments to fully and participate in different kind of sectors and different kind of activities within the country.
Remember that you are watching our 7:30 news bulletin coming to you from our Bishop Nefi Media Center in Area 2, Lilongwe. And you are with me, Brennan Mansa. Let's take a look once more on our headlines before we proceed. National Episcopal Conference of Congo calls for a spiritual preparation ahead of Pope Francis' visit. Presidential Task Force on Cholera urges Malawians to observe all cholera preventive measures. Weather experts urge caution amid looming flash floods in the southern parts of the country and lakeshore areas. And another news, Gambia Navy officer and 3 others detained for plotting a coup. The Department of Climate Change and Meteorological Services has issued a severe warning on heavy rains that might trigger the occurrence of flash floods. According to the department's principal meteorologist Yob Kajwanda, the southern parts of the country and lakeshore areas are going to experience heavy rains of more than 100 mm from 21 December to 22nd December, a situation that poses a threat of flash floods in some parts of Chikwawa, Nsanje and other lakeshore areas. With this, the department is further advising the public to be on high alert, mainly in flood-prone areas. Tandem Zmara has more in this report.
An advisory from the Department of Climate Change and Meteorological Services warns that the rains are expected to be associated with strong winds and lightning, hence reminding the public to keep on inspecting houses and other buildings for possible damages to avoid walls collapsing on people. Principal meteorologist in the department, Yob Kajwanda, among other things, advises that there be an immediate move to safer and higher areas for those living in flood-prone areas. The public is also being advised to avoid crossing flooded rivers and walking through running water, while councils and residents are being advised to clear all drainage systems to make sure that water is given ample drainage space and avoid flooding.
And of course, finally, of course, we should be actually be very keen as a public to keep on inspecting our houses and buildings for possible damages, to avoid walls collapsing on us and indeed destroying life and property. And we're going to talk him again, propagating the same information to the public, making sure that every person is actually accessing this information.
Meanwhile, the Department of Disaster Management Affairs, DODMA, has disclosed that it has set standby arrangements for the deployment of a search and rescue team comprising the Malawi Defence Force MDF, the Malawi Police Service and the Marine Department to Lower Shire districts of Nsanje and Chikwawa. DODMA is also airing early warning messages on community and national radio stations to raise awareness on flooding, lightning and strong winds. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Tandiwe Mzumara.
The local gas distribution service provider 265 Energy Limited has launched an affordable 3 kg gas cylinder in ensuring the promotion of clean and environmental friendly energy in the country. Speaking during the launch in Lilongwe area today, Chief Executive Officer for 265 Energy Limited, Mfundo Mvundula, said the initiative, which is being supported by USAID, has been put in place to ensure environmental conservation in the country. He further disclosed that a 3 kg gas cylinder will be selling at 35,000 kwacha, adding that the company will be doing a door-to-door service delivery of the gas materials. Mfundula explains.
As we've said, a lot of the charcoal is coming into town. Our aim is that we're standing here in city center. We should say everyone within city center must be using a gas cooker because they can afford it at the moment. If everyone in city center within the old town stops using makara, that will immediately stop deforestation. It's a supply and demand issue. So if we eradicate the demand within the cities, of course the supply and the cutting down of trees will reduce because they have nowhere to sell the product to.
And commenting on the matter, Mayor for Lilongwe City Richard Banda, who was the guest of honor at the event, hailed the initiative, saying it will take a very long way in addressing deforestation issues, and he has since urged 265 Energy Limited to reach to as many remote areas as possible to have access to the cylinders. The Competition and Fair Trading Commission (CFTC) has encouraged consumers to exercise their rights during this festive season. Through a statement, the Commission has warned traders that as they are obligated, they should respect the rights of consumers as outlined under the Competition and Fair Trading Act and Consumer Protection Act of Malawi. Speaking in an interview, Public Relations Officer for CFTC, Innocent Helema, pointed out that under both acts, it is required that goods sold to a consumer must be safe, of satisfactory quality, fit for purpose, delivered within a reasonable time, and must match any description given. He said if they don't, if they not, the consumer has a right to repair, replacement, or a refund. Helema explains.
The Competition and Fair Trading Commission is encouraging consumers to make sure that their consumer rights are upheld during this festival season. It is also reminding traders, warning them that they must ensure that consumer rights are respected based on the Consumer Protection Act and, of course, the Competition and Fair Trading Act. The two pieces of legislation provide that goods that are sold must actually be fit for purpose. They must also be delivered within a reasonable period of time. They must also meet whatever descriptions that have been provided. We also need to remind traders that they have duties, they have obligations when it comes to consumer rights. They need to be reminded, they need to remember that they must sell goods that meet standards, Malawi standards, that would not put the lives of consumers in danger. But they also need to know that they have an obligation to sell goods that have the right ingredients and, of course, the right ways.
The Early Childhood Development Coalition (ECD) Coalition has expressed fear that the government's poverty-stricken Early Childhood Development Program could sink in the next quarter of the 2022-2023 budget, following a slight decrement by half of the amount allocated to the Minister of Gender, Community Development and Social Welfare in the mid-year review budget. ECD Coalition National Coordinator Joelet Nyirenda made the remarks on the sidelines of an engagement meeting between senior government officials and civil society organizations on the outcomes of the reviews. We have more in this report by Helbert Katanda.
The
Media budget review saw a tipsy of the incipient amount of 19.5 billion kwacha, which is half of the amount. This means ECD budget will drop by 47%. In an interview, ECD Coalition National Coordinator Joylet Nyirenda said the reduction will impact the investment in every year's projects, among others. She said the ECD project has been facing numerous financial challenges and the development has the possibility of worsening the vice.
We noted with concern the reduction in the estimates for the Ministry of Gender under which the ECD program is coordinated. So generally we have noted that the budget has been revised downwards by close to half of the allocation that was approved in March. So this is a very worrisome situation. It's a concern to us because we know that if 77% of that budget was for early childhood development services, it means this revision has also affected the provision of early childhood development services. So it means there want to be adequate funds to deliver the plans which were developed at the beginning of this year.
Ministry of Gender Chief Child Development Officer Martha Namalomba said government is giving a serious thought on the matter.
Yeah, we were looking at how much the government has supported the ECD section, and we were trying to look at some other issues where we have seen that in some areas the budget has been reduced and it has affected the implementation of some other ECD activities. And as the partners and the government, we were trying to analyze the budget and discuss and map way forward as to how the next budget is going to be planned and how the government is going to influence the government on how it's going to support ECD in order to fully implement the ECD activity.
According to consumption records from the Ministry of Gender of the planned media projection, 14.5 billion kwacha, only 5 billion kwacha has been dispersed and 8.4 billion kwacha is projected for second half allocation. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I'm Helbert Katanda.
And finally, in news from elsewhere, a Navy officer has been named by the Gambia's government as the alleged ringleader of the failed COP plot. According to government's statement, Lance Corporal Sana Federa had been detained along with 3 other officers from the Navy, Presidential Guard Battalion and military police. A retired military officer said he doubted the plot was serious as all the officers were junior. Loyalist troops were still searching for the 3 alleged accomplices. The Gambia is a largely stable country in West Africa, which is popular with holidaymakers because of its beaches and wildlife. Well, on that note, we have come to the very end of our 7:30 news bulletin. But before we go, a recap of our main stories.
National Episcopal Conference of Congo calls for a spiritual preparation ahead of Pope Francis' visit. Presidential Task Force on Cholera urges Malawians to observe all cholera preventive measures. Weather experts urge caution amid looming flash floods in the southern parts of the country and lakeshore areas. And another news, Gambia Navy officer and 3 others detained for plotting a coup.
This has been Bernard Manza. Goodbye for now.